Hello and welcome to the class. My name is Daniel, and today we're going to be looking at skimming and scanning for the IELTS reading section. If you have any questions after the class, you can go to the top of the screen and click on the chat icon to send us a message. This is the first of two classes and will last just over 20 minutes. First, we're going to talk about skimming, and then we're going to talk about scanning. So by the end of the class, you should be more familiar with these two concepts and see how they can help with your reading. During the class, there'll be questions for you to answer. These will appear below the video. I'll tell you when you need to answer them, and I'll give you 10 to 15 seconds for each one. So let's start by just explaining what skimming and scanning are. Well, they are two types of reading skills, and they help you to read faster without reading everything. So you don't need to read every single word. Now, this is quite important because, well, in the IELTS exam, you just have 1 hour and you've got to answer 40 questions. That's a lot of questions to answer in 1 hour, and the text can be quite long. So you have 3 texts and it's about 20 minutes for each text. So that's not a lot of time to read each one. This would even be difficult for a native speaker. So even if I was doing this, it would be difficult for me. And most English speakers would find this difficult to do because 20 minutes is a very short time. So we need to find some ways to help us to read quicker. And skimming and scanning can help us do this. So let's start with skimming. So what is skimming? Well, skimming is reading part of a text or a whole text very quickly. And this is the key part to get a general idea of what it's about. So you're not trying to understand every single little detail. You're just trying to understand the text generally. And that's what skimming can do. So when should we skim? Well, you can skim the first time you look at a text. So when you turn the page, you see a new text, you want to skim it. This will help you to build a map of the text before looking for specific details. So first you understand it generally, and then later you can start looking for some specific details in there. Also, it can be used to get a general idea for a long part of the text. So if you have one paragraph that's very, very long, you don't want to read all of it, you can just skim it to get a general idea for what is contained in that paragraph. So how do we skim? Well, first, you read the first and last paragraph of a text. Generally, in academic reading and writing, the first paragraph is like an introduction. So it will give you a kind of summary of the whole text. And the final paragraph is a conclusion. So it will, again, usually summarize the whole text. So by reading those two parts, you get a general picture of the whole text. Then you read the first sentence and last sentence of each paragraph. Again, in academic writing, most of the important information of a paragraph is contained in the first sentence. What I mean is the first sentence will introduce the main idea of that paragraph. So by reading the first sentence in each paragraph, you get an idea of what the main idea in that paragraph is, or in each paragraph is. And the last sentence as well can also help you to get a bigger picture of what's contained in each paragraph. You want to spend between 2 to 3 minutes skimming, because you don't want to spend much longer than that. As I say, for each text, you just have 20 minutes. So you need as much time as you can to actually answer the questions. So 2 to 3 minutes still gives you 17 or 18 minutes to answer all of the questions for each text. So I wouldn't recommend much longer than 2 to 3 minutes. And another thing that it's really important to do is ignore any vocabulary that you don't know. If you see a word and you're like, oh, I don't understand this word, forget it. Don't worry about it. Move to the next word, move to the next sentence. It's not important that you understand every single word. So let's have a bit of practice skimming. So we're going to look at this text. It's called Dr. Google's Diagnosis Cyberchondria. It's about a new problem when people look up their illnesses online to give themselves a diagnosis. So here we can see the first sentence of paragraph B. And what I'd like you to do is look at the question below the video and say, which information do you think would be in the rest of the paragraph? So, would it be facts about the history of the condition of hypochondria, problems with using the internet to look up your symptoms, or reasons why people have started using the internet to look up the symptoms? So I'll give you a moment to read that and choose one of the correct options. Okay, well, hopefully you chose the answer B, problems with using the internet to look up your symptoms. Now, the reason it's B is, first, it starts by saying, while in principle this could be seen as positive, so maybe it's talking about the good things, at the end it says the opposite is generally true. So the opposite of positive means negative, which probably means it's going to describe problems about looking things up online. So by just reading the first sentence of the paragraph, we can understand what is going to appear in the rest of the paragraph. And this can help us later when we're trying to answer questions. We can go, okay, question 2, that's going to be in paragraph C. Question 3, that's going to be in paragraph 4, for example. So just by skimming, we can build a good picture of where we will be able to find the answers to the questions. Now let's turn our attention to scanning. The scanning is a different skill to skimming. So what is it? Well, scanning is reading through a text quickly to find one specific piece of information. So if you remember, skimming was to build a general picture of a whole text. Scanning is looking for something very small, one specific piece of information. So you're not trying to read everything, you're just quickly trying to find that one thing. So when should we scan? Well, to find part of a text which contains an answer. So you might think, okay, I need something that's talking about doctors' opinions. And so you quickly look through for like a doctor's name or the word doctor or something like that. To look for one specific piece of information. For example, it could be a number, a date, or a name. So if the question asks you to find a number, numbers are easy to see in text, so you can quickly just look for numbers, find the number, and then hopefully see and check if that's the correct answer. So let's look at how to scan. So the first thing we need to do is to highlight the key words in the question. Then we need to think of synonyms for these words. So when we're saying keywords, we mean the most important words. And then once we've chosen the most important words, we need to think of synonyms, or words that have the same meaning as those words. So it's important to especially focus on numbers, dates, names of people or places, because usually you can't have synonyms for a person's name. So if someone's called Daniel, you will see the name Daniel in the text. There's not a synonym for the name Daniel. The same with places. If it's talking about New York, you will find the word New York somewhere in the text. It's very difficult to have a synonym for New York. So they can be really useful when you're scanning. Then you read through the text to find the specific piece of information. So first you need to highlight the keywords and synonyms to know what you're looking for, and then you quickly read the text to find that information. Let's have a little bit of practice doing this then. So here we have a question that you might get in your reading paper. And what we want to do is we want to find what the key words are here. Usually the key words are nouns and noun phrases. So if we look through here, we can see what nouns and noun phrases do we have. So we can see the word problem is a noun, so that's definitely a key word. Hypochondria is another noun, it's another key word. And the health industry is a noun, and a year is a noun as well, or a noun phrase. So those are some of the key words. Other keywords could be verbs and verb phrases. For example, you might probably find the verb here, cost, certainly a key word. Adjectives are usually keywords, but we don't have any adjectives in this particular question. And adverbs and adverb phrases are also keywords. So how much is an adverb? So those would be the key words of the question. And if we were going to scan for something, we'd think of synonyms for them and look for that. So here's the question again that we saw on the previous slide. And the answer to this question, it says, how much does the problem of hypochondria cost the health industry a year? So this how much and cost, the answer to this question is going to be an amount of money. So like £100, £200, something like that, $500, probably a larger amount because it's the health industry. So maybe it's like $1 billion or something like that. But we can be sure that we're looking for an amount of money. So this is the perfect opportunity for us to scan for that information. So we're going to see a paragraph and we're going to just look for a number, for an amount of money. So I want you to look at question 2 below the video and scan through the paragraph to find an amount of money. And I will give you 10 to 15 seconds to try that. Okay, so hopefully you found 420 million. I mean, there are other numbers like 2001, but that's a date. 1997, again, that's another date. But then you have the money here, 420 million. So the 420 million is the key thing. So we found that. Now we just need to check Is it the correct answer? Well, let's read the full sentence here. So it says researchers from Imperial College have reported that this particular type of health anxiety, so health anxiety here, that's the hypochondria that it's talking about. So those are synonyms. That's a synonym of the key word. Is putting enormous strain on Britain's already overwhelmed health service. So health industry, health service. So again, we've got synonyms. Cost, we've got costing it at least 420 million a year per year with the collateral damage to the nation's economy. So we can see here, and this here, putting an enormous strain on, that is, it's causing a problem. So put an enormous strain on is another way of saying it causes a problem. So we can say that this 420 million is definitely the correct answer because all of this sentence here is paraphrased, or they're synonyms of the words in the question. So that's how we would scan for information. You'd find this one piece of information and then you check the other words around it. Okay, now if you do have a question, remember you can go to the top of the screen and click on the chat icon to send us a message. Thank you for coming to the class. Now take class 2 and remember to do the practice activities and exercises online. Thank you very much for coming. We'll see you again.